To order, the time is 6:07. Ryan Ramirez? Here. Calling roll, yeah. Julianne Orgish? Here. Julia Fishback? Here. Ann Duhan? Ellen Ermis? Here. Erica Ibarra? Here. I would like to ask for approval of the minutes. Consider approval of the Parks and Recreation Board meeting of March 31st, the regular meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Minutes passed. 2, citizen comment period. The Parks and Recreation Board welcomes comments from citizens early in the agenda of the Parks and Recreation Agenda Board meeting. Those wishing to speak are encouraged to sign in before the meeting begins. Speakers may be provided with an opportunity to speak during this time period on any agenda item or any other matter concerning city business, and they must observe the 3-minute time limit. Doesn't look like we have anyone. I didn't sign in advance, but I just learned that the former director of Parks and Recreation died suddenly a couple of weeks ago during Kyle Fair. So, keep his family. They live 6 generations here in Kyle for like 100 years or something. Anyway, that's it. We go on to staff reports and presentations. Receive a report, hold a discussion, and provide staff feedback regarding the updated design for All Wheels Skate Park at Greg Clark Park. Chris Escoto.
Thank you. Good evening. Chris Escoto, Deputy Director of Parks and Recreation. It's my pleasure to bring this item to you today. I do have a representative here from SPA Skate Parks who will be leading the discussion and the presentation to you. I do want to remind you a little bit about the process that we've been undergoing with the skate park itself. I'll actually clarify the all-wheel skate park. The skate park itself, we have been coordinating with SPA over the last several years. Earlier this year, we did execute a contract with both New Line Skate Parks as well as SPA Skate Parks, where they're collaborating from a design and a construction standpoint. So we do have progress report regarding where we've been the last several months. I've been a part of this process, and I've been intrigued this entire time. It's been delightful to see the progressions that you're going to see today, and it's just going to give you a little bit of insight of what this skate park will look like. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jan Curtis with SPA Skate Parks.
Everybody, so good to see your faces again. I'm happy to be here. Man, I'm so, talk about skate parks. I can do it all day, every day, and I do. So I'm here to update you on where we are. It's been several months now. We've been working intimately with Chris and Will during these meetings of ours, and so we've put together this, what we call a concept development package. And what we do is we add on to it the further along in the process we get through design. So you're going to see a very kind of preliminary kind of base data collection. Here's the site, things like of that nature. And then we'll get down more into the considerations of the site and ultimately a couple of sketches at the end. So without further ado, I'll get right to it. And obviously, please just bark at me if you'd like to ask a question. I'm happy to do that.
We're good at asking questions.
Yeah. So starting out here, we wanted to show everyone a regional skate park context map. So these are some skate parks that might be closer to here regardless of size. So this is what we would call a regional or even a destination scale skate park. And I'm saying a skate park for short. It's going to be an all-wheels plaza, pump track, transitional area too. So we'll get into all that. But the scale of this project is such that it's for everybody, lots of user types, lots of ages, and the whole thing. So I won't get into all these, but obviously some in and around Austin, like F and G. E at the bottom left there is Dripping Springs. So you can see how we've kind of done a 5-mile, 10, 20, and 30-mile radius from the project site here in Kyle, which is the center dot. So we wanted to do some analysis there because we don't want to do the same thing that has been done elsewhere close by way of terrain types. So further to that is more of the projects in our state that do align in size with what we're doing here to some degree. So let's go through a couple here really quickly. The number 1, which is on the map, the bottom right in Houston, that's one of the biggest skate parks in the country. So that one's a big one. John Comer Skate Park, which is in Garland, it's 46,000 square feet. That's number 2, and there's several in the Metroplex up there. And then as you get down into San Antonio, that's only noted here in the listing in the map. Number 14, for example, Hayes Street Bridge is a new skate park at only 12,000 square feet. So just to, for reference and memory, we're in that 28 to 33,000 square foot range all in. And that's terrain. So you'll see here that the space that we have, the development area out here at Greg Clark Park, provides us even more space to expand the footprint of the skate park, the hard surface, in a larger area, which is something we always want to do. We don't want to do like a rectangular or square-shaped slab with ramps on it. So you've seen enough pictures to know that that's not the case. We want to use the site's beauty, its curves, and everything like that, and design within it. So as part of, stepping back a few years, we did meet with the community several times and go through a very thorough public input process. We still have that in hand, obviously, took that with us, still have it today, and has been a guide for us moving forward. Now, this latest round, a few months ago, we met with 2, we'll call them user groups. The first one is for bikes, and we met with a representative from the Austin Ridge Riders. And they're more interested in the pump track more than anything else, maybe the bowl a little bit, but they want to make sure that the curves, the speed bumps, the jumps within the pump track are conducive to bikes as well as everything else. So that was the first meeting, and I'll get into that, a few points there. And the second one was the wheelchair BMX group, I'll call it. And the representative there was Thomas. He lives part-time in Kyle and part-time back in England where he's born. And he is a 2-time world champion wheelchair BMX competitor. So we met with him as a second separate meeting. So back to the Austin Ridge Riders, we don't need to go through all these points here, and maybe I summarized it already, but there's some different, saying that a pump track is for bikes, that has a lot of meanings. So what kind of pump track? What kind of terrain within the pump track? Jumps, bumps, what kind of transitions? This was both of these were very kind of technical, very detailed discussions with what they want. So we are meeting with both these groups again once we get just a little bit further along with our concept design to make sure that they kind of check the boxes that they have what they see, or they're getting what they want. So all-inclusive means that we're also going to be, wheelchairs, right? So bigger, longer features was one of the takeaways there. If you have we'll call it a transitional mini ramp type quarter pipe or a bank, things like that, they want those, instead of 10-foot wide, they want those 30, 40-foot wide, because obviously they're bigger. They want to be able to turn around. And the second point that I'll remember as a takeaway is, once they drop down into something, they have a hard time maintaining that speed. So not only do they want to have specific features that they can ride up on easily and jump off, there's really some good ones there, but also that just stuck with me. Like, once you roll down in a wheelchair, the only way to get more speed is to get back up something and go down something else, which can be easier said than done. So we're paying a lot of attention to that. So we're considering these the 2 user groups that we've collected information from, and we'll go back to, in addition to the public input meetings that we had right here on the other side of this room a few years ago. Any questions so far? Okay. Site context analysis. This one's pretty straightforward. You are all very familiar with Greg Clark Park. The arrow down at the bottom running horizontally is Center Street. Park access there. So we're going to be just north of, I think, is it Bocce Ball? there's some concrete strips that I think are there still. Do you know what that is, David? Okay. Everything north of there, all the way up to a red fire hydrant there at the north of that blob. So plenty of space. Won't get into all this, but we did a lot of base data collection before we started on this project. So we had a survey from the last round. We had a geotechnical report with the building recommendations from the last round. We took that and got yet another set of 4 borings and a report with that, combined it, same with the survey, and went even a step further on the survey and got what's called an SUE, which is a subsurface utility engineering service, which is basically underground locations of utilities. So we know there that we have some of those to deal with and to avoid. And you can see the boring log there, or the boring locations there by those orange dots. And so here, I wouldn't call these, option 1, option 2. I'm not here to say, you're welcome to give me any input you'd like, but this is just still an evolution. So we're just calling it direction 1, direction 2, but the reality is we're still trying to work this out and think it through. We wanted to give you a sense of where our head's at right now. We're a little further ahead on this detailing, but we want to go back to those 2 user groups I told you about, continue working with Chris, David, and Will, and then come back once more with a final 3D rendering of the skate park itself. So nothing will be left to guess about there. But generally speaking, you can see that we'll call it the street course, or the plaza is in that upper arm. And the bowl is where the tennis courts are now, generally. And then the brown, the 2-tone brown, is the pump track. So these are all very significant in size. And along with this, there will be all the amenities too, and I'll get that here in a minute. It's not going to be a bunch of concrete in a field. We're really going to make this a nice place. And that was a clear direction from council and you guys from the onset. So back to the spatial arrangement. So you saw those 2 kind of directions that we're putting together. You can see some square footages here for just size reference. And these 2 big blue, the cross blue lines here are easements that we have due to water lines and electrical lines. So we want to stay away from those, obviously. We'd rather not interrupt them. We put 10 feet on either side as kind of a safety easement. So that leaves, in very simple terms, everything in yellow, orange, red, and green as places where we can have terrain. Here's some precedent or inspirational imagery of what this first one here is, what the street or the plaza section would look like. So you can imagine stairs, railings, banks, maybe some of those quarter pipes, which are like the rounded embankments. And we can use different colors, textures, materials to make it really stand out. So when a user rides across it, they might get some noises or just contextual cues as to where they are within the space. It's a far cry from white concrete glaring in the sun. So 2 types, the remaining 2 transition or terrain types, here on this board, transition on the left, pump track on the right, and there's just so many variations here, but I think you can probably catch what's going on. We're gonna have an enclosed bowl, which is one of the images on the left, generally where the tennis court is now, and then on the right are the pump tracks, and those come in just such an array of sizes, shapes, forms, and takes up as much or as little space as you'd like. So that's a big part of our process here in the immediate term. Amenities. So yeah, back to making this place a nice place to be for parents, grandparents, people who just want to be there to hang out and not necessarily skate, and for the users who do want to rest while they're not skating. I mean, as a user, this is an active sport, as you already are aware. So if you're there for 2 hours, you might actually, quote, be active for 30 minutes of that, quite frankly. It could be just some place that they want to hang out, and you take a 20-second run, and you might want to take a break for a few minutes and repeat that process. So long story short, we want to make this a nice place. So we're coming up now with, we're going to present to the team here and the Parks Department with some suggestions as to shade. And so there's endless opportunity there. We're trying to balance out, does it make sense to have more of a central, bigger shade, one or two of those versus smaller ones all over the place? And there's pros and cons to both. So we're going to finalize our design and then pick the shade that works best. Some more amenities, so site furnishings in the middle. The city has implemented, I believe, a new kind of line of benches and trash receptacles and things like that nature, so we're going to make sure we stick to that. We can get a little creative maybe with some concrete seating, some limestone blocks, just to make things a little more natural. We've got our eyes on some synthetic turf as well as natural turf sod for those areas that we know will just get trampled like immediately, so there's no point in trying to maintain natural grass there. It does come at an additional cost. We're wary of that, but at the end of the day, for those areas that it makes sense, I think we'd want to do something like that. Lights, so this will have a full lighting system, so it'll be open up, at park hours that the city determines. I would suggest, and I think everyone's on board with just keeping the hours the same as any other park. It's no different in that regard. And of course, signage on the bottom right. So signage, once you enter, there's talk of having a donor wall as well. We're working with Chris and the team on that. And then also wayfinding in the middle. It's such a large facility that once you're in, if you're learning, it'd be nice to say, hey, here's the pump track over here, here's the street course over here. So it's not like you just enter and your head spins and you don't know what to do. And second to last here is the schedule. It's really small, but you see that red vertical line going down the Gantt chart. That's where we are. We're in the May-June timeframe, the conceptual design. We're going to get later in the summer. So in the end of June, I'd say, excuse me, will be a fully developed concept design, 3Ds, everything like that. We'll come back, present it to you, and then we get into the blue section, which is the technical design and documentation. And I'm guessing once you've seen the skate park in its glory, you're not going to mind too much about the next section that we have to get into on the computer side of things. And then, once we'll see how we track with permits and things of that nature, but it's our goal to get the project started before the end of the year. And we are on track, by the way. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So it's cement that is being poured for the actual track?
That's right, concrete.
Concrete?
Yeah.
What is the maintenance, like, is that taken in consideration of like
Well, that's the
maintenance
beauty of it. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
modern municipal skate park facilities and pump tracks are now in concrete and have been for some time. The maintenance, quite frankly, is minimal, and that's one of the beauties of it. Skaters and all the users prefer it as their medium to be on, and with the exception of maybe rocks getting on it or mowers, we need to blow it off occasionally. And of course, the big one is if it ever does get vandalized, we'd work with, we would have prepared the staff with ways to take care of that. Not only with products and things, but also like procedures that we've seen work in the past with other cities. But quite frankly, that happens rarely these days. It's cited, this skate park here in particular is cited so well that it gets a lot of passive surveillance, and there's just a lot of eyes on it. It's not tucked away anywhere. So for that reason, I think you're not going to see that be quite a problem as some other towns might have.
Will there be any cameras for surveillance?
We haven't talked about that. There are going to be lights there. So those lights obviously are on poles. And so we haven't talked about it. I think it can be added if you like it
We
to.
haven't talked about it with SPA, but internally, we've been discussing cameras, and that will probably be something outside of the scope of SPA's contract that we'll be working to install.
But if there was electrical that needed to be run or something like that within poles, we could do that. That's not a problem.
Double question, how much is it gonna cost?
The skate park
Yeah.
itself, it's 3.4.
Yeah, the cost overall is $3.4 million. That's including both design and construction, so that's all in.
And that's already like funded, right? That's,
Allocated.
you have to go fund it. Yeah.
Correct, yeah, and we already have a contract executed as well for that.
And that figure was 3.4 mil? Okay.
Yeah, so security, it doesn't even move the needle on that over.
You said starting by the end of the year. When do you think finishing by?
Yeah, good question.
Take this weather into consideration.
Yeah, I mean, 9 months.
Okay.
We have considerable earthworks to do and coordination with subs, but we would get them all teed up as best we can. And once we are on the ground, we have our own forces does the construction of the actual terrain. And so once we're here, we don't leave and come back. We're here for the duration. So it's in our best interest to have everybody work alongside us while we're here to get all that done. Yeah, we're definitely not going to try and drag this on more than it has to be. You guys have waited long enough.
And SPA has subcontractors that will actually build out the construction piece, and you guys will manage that, or are you?
We
doing-
build the skate park internally,
Oh, okay.
but we will sub out the lights, the installation of some of these tables, chairs, if it comes to that, the synthetic grass, things like that. We act as a GC in that capacity.
Okay. And what's the perks of having tables together shaded or spread apart throughout the park?
Yeah, we want to look at how the design takes shape because there are natural and purposeful and presumable places where users will take breaks on either ends of the skate parks. At certain points within the pump track, once they've done their loop, there's a kind of a starting point and an ending point. So those are the places that make sense to have the seating and the shade. So if we can do it that way, it would be more sporadic. But if we have a design by which there's more of a centralized area that all those things meet, then we can have a much larger shade and have like a home for everybody there in the middle, and they can dish off to the different parts that way. So that's still in the works. Yeah, but it's a big deal to us. I mean, we all grew up skating, and back in the day there weren't these skate parks, and as they started getting built, it was all about the terrain, but nothing else. So the one that's separating this one from everything else out there is going to be the amenities package that we're talking about now and the all-inclusivity. Like, we're taking that to heart. There's going to be some features out there that are not done elsewhere because the wheelchairs want it. And, bikes too. It's not just a skate park that bikes can be at. It will actually be bike-friendly.
And one last question.
Yeah.
So I guess this is for the Parks and Rec folks. What's the parking like over there? Like, how many people, in theory, can park there at one time? And will they be able to park at the park, or will they have to go somewhere
Around
else
by
to
the
walk
soccer
there?
fields.
Yeah, so parking is going to be interesting, so to say. So the parking lot itself, we are aware that needs to be improved. Actually, earlier this week at council, there was a preliminary plan, or a master plan, what we call, that was approved on behalf of council for us to start designing and reimagining what Greg Clark could look like. So part of that scheme is going to be accommodating right sizing for big events. We do foresee with the big wheelchair MX group, we are talking about potentially having tournaments. So trying to identify what that spacing criteria looks like. Not to mention, as Jan has been talking about, this differentiation of all these other skate parks. It's probably going to be a driver from other areas that could be a destination. So trying to accommodate for parking in that scenario. So currently, I think if I were to give you a number that are actually striped, I think there's anywhere between 8 to 12 parking spaces right in front of it. That's shared with the basketball court, of course. But if you were there for the Easter event, that was one of my first events that we had at Greg Clark. I mean, people were parking in grass. People were parking everywhere, quite frankly. So it is one of those components that knowing that whatever event will happen, people might make their own parking for the time being, but it will be something that we'll be incorporating and improving with this other contract that we just executed.
How far is the school parking lot
Yeah, it'll be
Wallace's
just on
parking
the
lot
on
is
the
pretty
east
tiny
side.
also.
And one thing to keep in mind too, as we are improving our park spaces and improving trails and the connection of it, our hope is that people, we have this 10-minute walk to a park campaign. So people will walk, hike, skate to the skate park in this instance. So it is something that as you continue to plan for these spaces, we are very intentional on how we're trying to drive people to these parks.
So I have a question now that he's bringing up all the amenities. Why did it take a skate park for y'all to realize that there needs to be more shade at the park and the parking is bad?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I can't speak for anybody before me. However, the new team that's been established, we are looking at these various components of improving the various park spaces. Regarding the planning aspect, it is one of those things that we're just driving up forward, knowing that shade, water, just comfort, seating, all those components are pretty typical from all areas here in Texas. If you look at most master plans, those are probably like the 5 top priorities for most agencies. And go figure, here in Kyle, trails, shade, water, all those components are those things that are also on the top of that priority list. So we also, I actually have an update for you later today in one of the other meetings, other items, but we did approve the Parks Pros Master Plan earlier this week. So that's also setting that foundation and that stage to have a living document that we can revert back to for all these various components. So the furnishings are not the only thing that you're going to see. Right now you're seeing skate parks. In the future, you'll be seeing sport fields. You'll be seeing basketball courts, all those various components that I think the community's been itching for.
Yeah, and people ask us, why so much time planning? Let's just do something, and then you got a comprehensive plan and site plan. This is why, because we got to think about shade, we got to think about water, gas community, what's important to you, and so, anytime you take shortcuts on planning, you end up having to atone for these things retroactively. So we're more forward thinking, and we're going to be guided by our master plan, where our community said shade is a priority for us. Improved surfaces, on our playgrounds, it's a priority for us.
I think shade came up like previously in other things, but it was more like in the long ago, we were playing
Yeah.
whack-a-mole with stuff. Like it came up and we're like, okay, we'll deal with that, but it wasn't
Right.
like a plan for
It's just like
everything.
noted, but
Yeah.
where are the notes at? All right.
I have a question about, there were a couple of slides back, you were saying there were some options for poured concrete, like, it looked like seating, but it was also, I guess, supposed to be a this one,
Thanks.
yes. So amenities, site furnishings, and all of these ones in the top left corner look like they could be either seats or like a feature, right, of the skate park. I think that's intentional, and I'm wondering, with those features, have we thought about signage that says, like, don't get mad at the kids who are using this as a rail, for the people who think that it's only supposed to be a bench?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think that the placement of something
Will
like
make it
these in the
obvious.
upper left will cue people in pretty clearly whether or not it's in a skatable area or not. A skate ledge is a really common feature of different variations within a skate park, and those will be in this facility. And that's obviously can be sat on too.
Yeah.
But something like this, if we were to spend the time and effort and money on, we would definitely make sure that it's in a area designated for seating, and that could be complemented by maybe it's within some of these the upper right kind of natural stone blocks or something like that, or in the synthetic grassed area, right? Good question though, for sure.
I just, you see the videos about the ladies who are like, get off my lawn.
Yeah.
So,
I think San Marcos' skate park's getting shut down. Also, they're talking
I heard
about
that too.
building a new city hall on it.
Yeah,
People I talk to in San Marcos, it's because there's no one there. The maintenance wasn't worth it, so they're trying to save face by building a new city hall there, which I work right next to the skate park in Buda. Right now, there's no one there. It's too hot. So what's the return on the skate park? How many hours a day will it actually be used? In your opinion,
Sure, sure.
you know,
Well, I can tell you from my years of doing this, almost 20 now, the feedback that I get from parks directors, city managers, and the like, from those, of our past clients, is that a skate park is their most used parks facility in the whole city. I'm really proud of that. I get that time and time again. McKinney, Texas, I've forgotten the stats. It's been some years ago now. It's about the same scale as what we're doing here. And it was thousands. It was so impressive. They actually did some surveying, and I can maybe get that to you guys through Chris, but it was just staggering how many people used it daily. So whereas a ball field, for example, is used in the evenings and the weekends, the skate park is used pretty much constantly throughout the day. You have to ask yourself why some kids are out there in the middle of the day on a Tuesday, but that's a different topic. But yeah, it'll be consistently used to some degree throughout the day.
Ready to go on to the next item?
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll receive a report, hold a discussion, and provide staff feedback regarding youth programs such as the 2024 Youth Program Recap, 2025 Youth Program Outlook, and Aquatic Youth Program. Amy Garcia.
All right, Park Board members. So Assistant Director Amy Garcia for the record. I will be bringing up the Division Manager for Recreation, Ronald Sensley.
How you doing? My name is Ronald Sensley, the Division Manager for Recreation. All right, we're gonna go into the agenda where we'll talk about 2024 youth programming recap. We also have 2025 youth programming outlook, aquatic youth programming, and feedback. An overview of the 2024 youth programming. We just want to engage the programs for the youth, get them various sports and recreational activities, and focus on skill development and teamwork, and grow the participation around the city of Kyle. In 2024, we saw youth basketball that was designed for boys and girls 6 to 12. We saw 202 registered participants. For youth soccer, we see 19. In youth soccer, it was a clinic, and it was for athletes from 5 to 9 years old, and it just focused on enhancing the soccer skills and fostering the love of the game. And basically with clinics, we just work with them to develop a new league or sport when we host clinics. All right, for tennis programs, we have tennis lessons where we have 86 youth and middle school participants, and we have play dates. Play days are somewhat like a clinic where they just come in and they learn about tennis, and we had 43. For the youth fishing clinic, that's done through TPWD and a former park board member, Chuck, where we had 60 registered last year and 29 attended. And then we also have Kyle Kudas, which is our swim team, and we had 33 participants, and British Swim saw over 1,400 participants just in learning to swim. Program accomplishments. Tiny Tots Triathlon, that's an annual event that we have. It had 63 registered registration. Paint and Sip for the youth, we had 97. And Camp Kyle, we saw over 800 participants attend spring and summer camps in 2024. And Story Time, we had 50 attendees. Story Time is offered 3 times a year. It's moved from Friday evenings to Saturday mornings, and we had 25 participants in March. And we have upcoming dates in June and September. Moving to 2025, recreational youth programming. All right, the new programs that we have, I talked about Tiny Tots in the spring. We have a T-ball league, which we're having a meeting about right now, that we have over 100 participants. And in the fall, we're gonna try to introduce flag football. In winter, we're gonna reformat youth basketball. We're gonna have a competitive division and a recreational division. The recreational division is gonna be like a house league where you have individual-based teams. The competitive division is gonna be across the metro area where they can bring their own team in. Special events, we'll have MLB Pitch Hit and Run hosted in the summer. That's a sanctioned MLB event that will take youth athletes and test their skills and just hitting, running, pitching, and we'll have a local competition, a regional competition that usually takes place in Dallas. And then if they win from there, they'll go to the World Series to participate in the event during the World Series. Outdoor, this is family services, but we have learned to swim, which is, it just teach you how to swim, and youth archery that we want to bring. What's next? I'd say fall and winter camp, and we're in 2026 we'll have a program recap and extreme sports for teens. Aquatic programming, we have learn to swim programming, junior lifeguard programming, and Kyle Kudos. And any question or feedbacks y'all might have.
I have a question. So for the fishing, I didn't write the numbers down, I think it was 60 people registered
Yeah,
and
60.
only 29 came?
Yeah.
Was
From
that
talking
the
to my coordinators, they said that we had people that came, but they didn't have to pay. It was a free event. So that was the reason for that.
Oh.
Yeah.
So when so some of the events, if they're registered, it's free, and some of them are registered and they pay for it?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. It might be kind of interesting to see the variance of the cost of the free ones versus the cost of the ones that.
Well, we work on that, but with TPWD, we were told they want to offer it free. So we're offering it free. We have to host that event for free because it's like a partnership where they want the community to come out.
Got it.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the slide where it had 800 participants? I think it was this camp.
All right.
Right there. All right, so are y'all counting those same kids every day?
Yeah, when I looked at that, we count the same kids. So say for instance, we had 60, that's throughout the duration of the camps.
So, okay, so you had 60 on Monday, then you count the same 60 again on Tuesday for 120?
No, like for the entire week. So we had 90, we did 9 weeks, it'll be right at 900.
Okay, so that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, so,
We
Yep.
really had 90,
yeah,
not 800.
not
Yeah, you-
800.
Okay.
You times the way that the math was done is the 90 times the number of weeks, so that's 90 times the 9, and then we have the spring break camp.
That's how
Mm-hmm.
numbers are manipulated. Okay, so it's 90.
But that means that kids signed up for more than 1 week of
Correct.
camp, so it's a new camp experience and a new registration, so
One
it's
kid.
still
It's still one kid.
800 registrations.
Yeah, and hypothetically, it could be a total new batch of children in week 2.
I can play
Yeah,
in
and
a
one,
basketball
too.
league the entire summer. I'm still one participant every week, though.
So you would just like to know the actual number of kids that's registered, okay. Yeah, and I think that's more of the kids just in total, like each week that we counted.
I mean, if you understand my point, it's one kid. It's not 800, it's 90, which, okay. I'd
Yeah.
rather have that number than it fluctuated like that, because then other things like for basketball camp, and it had 200 and some kids. It wouldn't make sense that 800 kids went to this camp, but you only had 200 kids sign up for basketball if you're gonna sit there, do these camps. Hey, we're running these leagues throughout.
I think for the Kyle camp, the families paid for each week.
Yeah,
So you
they're
register
independent
for that
registrations.
week and the following week.
Yeah, so that
instead of
account
a-
as a risk,
Instead
like,
of registering for the whole season in a sport, and you're counted as that one team member for the entire sports season.
Well, I mean, you can break it down each week.
Right,
if you're
but
gonna
their
pay for
way
a
of
season,
thinking, this
you
is
can
the
break
way
it
the
down.
process is for each week.
But for clarity, we could show, you know, it's X amount of participants on a weekly basis to
Yeah.
account for the 900.
You can break it out in an Excel spreadsheet and number the kiddos, right, and then total the 800 plus. So that might be just a good visual and how to represent the numbers.
yeah,
Total
that's more of a
800 plus.
visual, but I understand, you know, what you were saying also, but that's the bulk of the camp, not, you know, how many people actually was registered.
Or looking at looking at the attendee, how many weeks are registered. Right, we could, one child returned for 4 weeks at the summer camp and however, I mean, you can split it different ways.
Yeah, and we can offer that in the future, like, we can show you the breakdown of how many people actually registered to, you know, how many people we actually came to each week also. And, you have any other questions or anything? I just wanted to say, we have the inaugural T-ball league, and we had over 100 participants, so that's great. Hopefully we can have it for flag football too.
That's what I'm saying, how'd that go?
It went great. Like, I think T-ball registration was closed, and we had a waiting list in 3 days. Yeah, so that was amazing. So, you know, we want to offer more of those type of leagues and programming. And also, I wanted to tell you,
Where'd they play?
they're going to play at Greg Clark Park.
How do you determine like coaching staff? How is that selected? Is it volunteer?
Yeah, it's volunteer based, so it's going to be the people in the community that's going to be participating, and we want to.
Their background check through everything?
Yeah, everyone is going to be background checked, but we want to get it to the point to where we can have where they have pride in their team. So we're going to offer a team out, and we're going to have like 4 or 5 coaches, and hopefully we can move forward with those, you know, with those T-ballers to build baseball leagues and different things of that nature. I wanted to go back to this fall and winter. And extreme sports and teams, all of this is budget pending that we're gonna have, and with the aquatics programs. So pending budget approval, we will or will not have these programs.
And that's
You're talking about the leagues?
October?
No, right
Does
here.
it roll in October? Budget?
So those
it's a
are those are
Yeah.
new enhanced offerings, so
Yeah.
enhanced services to the community. So we put in an enhancement bid for those as part of this year's budget process for next fiscal year that begins October 1.
Correct.
Yeah, and Ryan, to go back on your with the camps, fishing, archery is gonna happen. You see that says 2025. We also is gonna have pitch hit and run. That's gonna happen. That'll be something where 1 or 2 kids will be able to represent the city, you know, and go to Dallas and then possibly to the World Series. And we also we're in touch with NFL flag now, so we're gonna have that also. And you know, we already have T-ball league. With the competitive division with basketball, we could have had that this year, but I told Brooke, our athletic coordinator, don't worry about it, because we was gonna work on that for next year.
Yeah, there's just ideas. That kind of, but that MLB pitch, hit and run, that's fun. Like, a couple of years ago, they were in Williamsport at the actual Little League World Series. And I played at Williamsport in the Little League World Series. It was the greenest grass you will ever see.
Yeah.
It's the most beautiful thing in the world. I wish my grass looked like that.
Yeah, we you know, hopefully we can get to the point to where we're offering, you know, these things, and we also we looked into even Little League, like seeing if we could start that. So I don't want to give you too much, but it's going to be a bill to
There are a
what we
lot of
want
kids
to.
from Kyle that go play in St. Marcos and play in Butte.
Yeah, I know.
And it's, every reply I get from parents is, Kyle has nothing.
Yeah, and that was like half the reason I went with T-ball, because I just wanted to start T-ball, because that'll be the first group that'll do that, and then we'll work to
Build
baseball,
up the.
and then they can grow out. And I'm planning almost on a 10-year term to where when they turn 15, they'll age out, and we should have everything by then. So.
May I ask that, like, flag football, basketball, pitch, hit, and run, what are the age ranges for these? Do you know off the top of your head?
Age range right now, it'll be 14 and under.
Okay.
So we'll have a team corporation. We want to stay with the youth, 6 to 12, but we would offer 14 and under just to see if we can get those teams. But I know most of the time, once they hit middle school, yeah, they stop playing. So
Did you do something differently for the T-ball league to get 100 people, or was it just your first go and you were?
no, like Ryan said, that like most of the parents said, we've been wanting this. So we produced it, and they showed.
A lot more that they want to.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so.
Mr. Ramirez, I would say as the facilities improve, some of these programs will naturally increase as well. So that is something that the council has made a priority, as well as this staff has made a priority, to go back and improve the current assets that we have. So do want to let you know that that is something that we're currently working on, updating the current ball fields in order for us to help RJ and his staff increase these leagues.
Can I ask?
Yeah, and that's something we took into play too. Like
When I build it for y'all, I'm taking him with me.
Yeah, we took it to play. Like I said, they're going to be playing at Greg Clark Park. So we making the steps to make sure, the fields are playable for them. And also, I know you brought up parking, making sure we have enough parking, because right now we have a structure for Mondays and Wednesdays for games, hopefully, and Tuesdays and Thursdays will be practice. So y'all should start seeing a lot more participation at Greg Clark with families.
Doesn't Waterleaf have baseball fields?
Yes. Logistically, we said Greg Clark would probably be best because we have 4 fields there. We possibly won't put up the fence this year, but as we move into other leagues and things that we offer, like with baseball, a fence will, a temporary fence will be put up for those age groups.
You'll see later too with the overall and in your master plan packets, there was, we showed like our athletic field deficit by national standards. And so part of those site plans for those contracts that just got approved earlier this week at City Council, we're gonna be looking at those deficits and how we can shore that up, bridge that gap. And it's gonna involve some athletic field programming for a lot of these, or improving them. Some of these fields aren't as functional, and so you don't maximize or optimize play. Greg Clark's a good case in point where you got 4 fields, Ryan, you know what I'm talking about, that are facing into each other. Probably wasn't the best design, but all of those things are gonna be reconsidered to optimize it.
It's also center of Kyle. That's why a lot of people are gonna like it. It's not out somewhere.
Yeah, and we paid attention to that too also. We saw that it was in the center of Kyle, and we programmed exactly for that, because if you build it, they will come. So that's what we're looking at right now as far as the programming aspect, is to see those faces and those families out, participating on a weekday. And we have a park that's full, at least 5 or 6 days out the week during the summer.
Can I ask something that is related but isn't included here?
Okay.
What happened to Lone Star Soccer?
There's still a contract that we currently have existing.
Okay. But they're just like doing their own thing, and we're starting our own soccer thing, like, also.
We're starting our own soccer. So they would be in a partnership. So we're working with Lone Star Soccer currently to see what we can offer within a partnership between the city, because the city Lone Star has majority of the times at Greg Clark Park. And so the staff are working with them to see what we can do internally to try to build in soccer on our own, and then also fill in the gaps of where soccer is not being
Was the
provided.
soccer I saw here, it wasn't competitive, is that what it was?
The
There was
soccer?
soccer on one of these slides.
It was a
like
clinic.
skills,
Yeah, just a
Okay.
basic, like a one-day clinic.
that's the difference.
Mhm.
Got it.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank y'all for, having me this evening.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you.
We'll move to agenda item 4, receive a report, hold a discussion, and provide staff feedback regarding general departmental updates on new staff, community events, programs, aquatics, staff recognition, park partnerships, and capital improvement projects. Amy Garcia?
All right, Amy Garcia, Assistant Director for the Parks and Recreation Department. So here, we're gonna just give you some highlights. It will be a little bit longer, and you'll see it a little bit more compact just because we missed the last meeting. We added some more information in here. So just an overview, we will go over new staff, community events, programs, aquatics, staff training and recognitions, park partnerships, and of course, our CIP, which is our capital improvement program. So just to start off, we have our new Family Services Recreation Coordinator, JJ. He is not here tonight. He's had a really busy week. He's kicked off summer camp this week. So he comes to us from the city of Austin. We're excited to have him. We, executive team went with him yesterday, and he has great ideas and is going to bring a lot of experience into the city of Kyle. So we're happy to have him. Along with new seasonal staff, our summer camp and aquatic season has kicked off. So we have about 45 seasonal staff, and that is between the aquatics and summer camp program. They're all ready. So like I said, summer camp kicked off this week on Tuesday, and then our pool opened on May 24th, and so did our splash pads. And then here with us today is Crystal Masad, and I'll let her kind of come up and give her own intro, and then that way, so I'd like to introduce her. So she is going to be our new therapeutic recreation coordinator.
Hello. Thank you, everybody, for having me today. Thank you for the introduction, Amy. My name is Crystal. I'm coming to y'all from the city of Austin and their therapeutic division. I'm really looking forward to growing alongside the city of Kyle and providing more adaptive and inclusive opportunities. It's been really wonderful coming in and working alongside your team for the Kyle Fair. We had a really good turnout at our sensory tent. And we're just striving to reach all the participants we can to let them know that we're offering these wonderfully inclusive opportunities. I've had the pleasure of working with Mr. Susley on training our camp staff so that they're equipped to deal with our incoming neurodivergent participants. And it's been a really good time so far. Week 3, and I'm loving it. So thank you so much for the warm welcome, and I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you. All right, and then next up we have our community events, and this is just going to be a flashback into April. So we had our Kyle Market Days happening in April, and we had a performance by Billy Cody Band. We also did a new programming aspect to it. So we had a plant giveaway and then also craft decorating pots and plants. We also had a program for what to plant, what not to plant, done by our, what is his title? It was Calvin, correct? Calvin? Yes. Calvin? Yeah. Native Landscape Supervisor, Calvin King. And then we had our Easter extravaganza. So if anybody was able to make it out with us, we were able to distribute 80,000 eggs. We had over 2,500 attendees. I would say the attendance grew from last year. We were excited to see everyone out there. We had our vendors and as well as the DJ out, and then of course our food vendors. Our Tiny Tot Triathlon, which was mentioned in our youth programming, we had 54 athletes, which was increased from the previous year. They, with the bike, run, and then splash into our pool, and this was all located at Greg Clark Park. Some of our upcoming events, and these are free admission, so Jams on the Green, which will be June 5th, if you guys can join us at La Verde Park. We will have our Movies in the Park on June 6th, which will start at about approximately 6 p.m. We ask you to start arriving. Start time will be probably closer to 6:45, but just to come out and get your spot. This will be located at Lake Kyle. Then we'll have our kids fishing clinic in partnership with Texas Park and Wildlife, and that is going to be a free program as well. And then our Kyle Market Days, this will be Juneteenth themed on June 14th, and our Market Day starts at 8 a.m. and goes until 1. And then our story time in the park, which will be on June 28th, starting at 9:30, and this is in partnership with the Kyle Library. All right, so just a recap for our Kyle Textravaganza, Kyle Fair. So Friday, we were full of performances, and then we had some new activities that were brought this year. So the Austin Reptile Show came out, and this was programmed in our Kid Zone and Kyle Kickback area. We also had the Margarita People's Choice, and then we had the Meet the Kyles. This was in lieu of the world record attempt, and then we also had a neon t-shirt decorating. On Saturday, we had the headliner perform, Stephanie Montiel, and then our activities incorporated, again, a story time from the library, Beanie and Heine, and then Human Loteria, and then as well as a glow-in-the-dark mini golf, and then, of course, our drone show. And then Sunday, our headliner came in with Bree Bagwell. We will say that Easy Band brought in a huge crowd as an opener. And then we had our Kyle Olympics puppet show, and then some crafts and Kyle Conga line. Just some highlights from this event. It was a free admission. The attendance was about 10,000 over. We were able to incorporate new logistics, so we were able to do some clickers at our entry gates so that we were able to track attendance. VIP sales were about 69. We had margaritas, ribs, and fajita wristbands being sold. We had over 35 vendors and 40 market vendors, and we had beer and margaritas sold, as well as a live performance and, of course, the Kid Zone and Kyle Kickback. We had over 55 Parks and Recreation employees working this event, along with 25 city staff from departments like Public Works, IT, Kyle Police Department, and the library, just to name a few. So we do appreciate all the city departments that came out and assisted. We also had the staffing agency of 34 individuals that came out and assisted, and they helped with load-in at the buses, helped with the logistics and entrance and exit points, and then also the stage security. The 15-minute drone show, we did have free shuttle parking in 3 locations. That was Lehman, Tobias, and Steeplechase. And VIP parking was on site. Some of our winners for the ribs, you can see here, so ribs, fajitas, and Ritas. And then, of course, our People's Choice Awards also took place. And coming in, we have our upcoming programs. So Paint and Sip will be next week, June 4th. Registration is still currently open. On Monday nights, we have adult trivia occurring. And then, of course, our Kyle Camp has kicked off. And we will have our Kyle T-Ball League starting up. For aquatics, we have our dive-in movies. Registration is currently open. We will be showing Moana and then Captain America, Brave New World. And like I mentioned before, our opening happened on Memorial Weekend, so May 24th, and we will be closing on Labor Day weekend, which is September 1st, and our splash pads are currently open, and those are located currently at Greg Clark Park and Steeplechase.
The pool was closed on Memorial Day.
It's closed on Mondays. We have a 6-day.
Even if it's a holiday.
Yes, we have a.
Water went and was real sad.
Gotcha. Yeah, so we have a 6-day operation.
And then they went to the splash pad next door, and it was intermittently going on and off and would not stay on for the kids that were there. I don't know if y'all heard about that, but I tried to call 311, and 311 told me that I wasn't in the area for it. So.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, well.
Just things to know.
Yeah, we'll look into it. I know that it's push activated, so if it's not, the button's not being pushed, it will turn completely off. We'll have.
They were trying,
Yeah.
and it didn't
Okay.
work.
Yeah, I'll have staff look into it and make sure that it was cycling through. We hadn't heard of that yet. Anything else on aquatics?
That was at least 2.
2 on Monday? Okay. And then coming up, we have staff recognitions and training. So we want to say a huge congratulations to Matt Boyd. He is now our CPSI, so Certified Playground Safety Inspector. You will see him pictured on the left. And then in April, the park maintenance team completed the training courses for equipment loading and tie-down safety through the University of Texas Arlington, enhancing the skills in handling transporting equipment You will see that pictured here in the middle. And then also in April, we had our TEC staff completed equipment proficiency test for certifications on key operational machinery. And then congratulations to Jordan Stout. He is now our licensed irrigator certification through TCEQ. All right, and I will bring up Chris Escoto.
Thank you, Amy. Chris Escoto, Deputy Director of Parks and Recreation. So now we're going to be talking about park partnerships. So one thing that I do want to recognize is Tamara Aquino. She has done a phenomenal job incorporating this program. So this is the first year that we've incorporated the park partnerships agreements, and really what it is, it's a low risk agreement that's between the city and the participant. Truly what they're doing is performing services that are low risk, but ultimately what they're incorporating is trash collection, volunteer opportunities just throughout the park system that they're ultimately benefiting and offsetting staff time, staff costs, for instances. So some of the current park partners that we've made is the Kyle Garden Club, Boy Scouts. There are several local businesses. There are a few that are missing from this list, but some that we have are like Amazon, and we're currently working with several other partners that we have. So if you are privy of any other volunteers or volunteer groups that are interested in helping out the parks and improving the parks, feel free to send them over to our staff, in particular, Tamara Aquino. She'll be more than willing to help out in that instance. But we do have a total of 13 volunteer groups that we've signed in this first year. So that's a huge accomplishment that I do want to recognize Tamara for. The Volunteer Spotlight, this is something that we're going to be doing every month now. But we did host back in, I believe this was in April, LCRA provided 30 volunteers for Greg Clark Park, where we had, it says netting removal, but what it was erosion blankets that were put together that was left over from subject construction improvements that was a deterrence really to the environment, not to mention, but just to maintenance and all those various aspects. So they helped us pick that up, which was a huge load off our staff. They also did help clean the hockey dasher boards for the Ash Pavilion. And we do have several other volunteer groups that we've had at the fair that Amy mentioned. So we have Lehman High School, ROTC, Team Kyle Academy students. The CERT group was phenomenal, and the Citizens on Patrol were very helpful out there. So huge thank you and shout out to those volunteer groups. And so now to the CIP updates that we've on a monthly base provide you with. So the PROS Master Plan, excited to say that was approved on Tuesday. There are some minor modifications that we're making, and that final production will be released tomorrow. So as a reminder, what the PROS Master Plan gives us is this 10-year roadmap, so to say, on how we're gonna achieve the various goals of the city from the community feedback, but also from a facility standpoint. So as I mentioned earlier, we were talking about improving facilities. There are several initiatives in there. It's truly a blueprint for the Parks Department. So not only are we talking about KPIs, goals, objectives, all those various components that now the city, in particular park staff, is going to be responsible for executing, and it'll be something that we're going to look into providing you monthly or quarterly reports on how we're achieving those goals from the PROS Master Plan. So that is something that we'll be providing with this body, just so you're aware of how we're tracking regarding the various goals. CIP update regarding public art. There was a presentation earlier this month to City Council, and there's going to be several coming up here specific to roundabouts. We are looking to bring forward a landscape item. There was a presentation that was provided to you all regarding the native landscape that's going to be planted on the various components. So there are, I believe, there's 3 different types. There's an art landscape and a signage layout. And so we're going to be able to see what that landscape scheme will be, as well as the art scope. There was an art scope that was finalized regarding what we want the first sculpture to be off of Windy Hill, which is celebrating the local history. So that is the theme that we'll be moving forward with, and we'll be providing you with updates. As well as there was a public art RFP that was approved by City Council with one particular piece of art being selected, which is the one that you see on screen called Sky Blooms. We are currently coordinating with the artist, and we envision this piece being roughly anywhere about 6 to 8 weeks of production. So we envision this being installed sometime this fall. And that sculpture there is interactive. There will be some solar lighting component that's going to shine down, so it is going to be dark sky compliant, just to give you a little bit of a selection. And this is going to be featured over at Steeplechase Park, right next to the playground. Public Art Master Plan. This was also something that, as you could tell, the May 6th agenda was very busy on the park side, specifically to arts. And so the Public Art Master Plan was approved on behalf of City Council. What that gives us, similar to this PROS Master Plan that we just approved, it's a foundational framework that's going to establish all art-related procurement goals, needs, identifying budget processes, and so forth. So this is going to be the blueprint for the arts and cultural program, and we are going to be providing you with those updates, as well as bringing forward a presentation to you all specific to this, where the consultant will be here in front of you all. So just to give you a bit of an update on where we're at on some of the projects, earlier this March, the city did purchase the land that we call the Silverado property. We're currently working on finalizing that scope, where there's going to be further assessments regarding a floodplain study, as well as finalizing that design going from 90% to 100% for us to be able to start construction. So that is going to be featured at next week's council agenda for consideration. Further updates regarding the Vibe Trail. This is the Plum Creek East Trail. We're currently at 60% under design. We're currently reviewing some of those plan sets internally, working with our landscape team, working with our engineering team. To give you a set of reference, this is starting from at Waterleaf Park. What you see there in the right block, touching or heading towards Button Creek. Transportation Alternative Grant. So happy to say earlier this month we did submit a phase 1 application for consideration to TxDOT. We did make the second round, so we are moving forward with submitting an application for a grant, which is going to be approximately $1.27 million that will be awarded to the city. It is an 80-20 split reimbursement grant, so that's something that we are looking to submit the application that's due this next month. 80 is TxDOT, 20% is the city. We do. Yep. And we do have 30% to sign on that, so it's taking it from 30 to 100%. Steeplechase and Waterleaf parking lots. This will be an item that's actually going to be coming to City Council this next month. Similar to the skate park that we presented today, we'll be providing you all as well with an update of where we are, where we're progressing on that. That's still on pace, on schedule for us to break ground later this fall. We're currently roughly around 60 to 90% of those plans, but I just had a meeting with them yesterday, and everything is progressing. Similar to every other park space that we're doing, it's going to incorporate native landscaping within the project itself, and truly all future projects from a park standpoint, that's what's going to be the future of Kyle as we see. So that is Steeplechase parking lot, Steeplechase playground. No, that's just the existing. What this project is, as a reminder, is just improving the existing parking lots.
But that's not a new dog park.
That is not a new dog
That's
park.
just a replication,
Correct.
a loose one. Okay.
Yep. That's just a conceptual, what we call
Okay,
conceptual
got it.
render. Then you have Steeplechase Playground. If you driven by, you've noticed that there is construction fence surrounding the playground. We do envision breaking or demolition starting, if not tomorrow, early next week. But that is something that's ongoing, and we foresee that taking roughly about 4 to 6 weeks for completion. And so we'll be inviting you here soon for an official ribbon cutting, and can't wait for that day to happen. Lake Kensington Nature Park. We are currently working with a consulting firm. They are still conducting quite a bit of site analysis. They've had several consultants out at the park conducting just the local flora and fauna, assessing surveys, all those various components that they need that are integral into the design components. So they are currently working on that, and we'll be working with a task force with those updates. And we do envision having community input starting early July. So just to give you a bit of an update of where we are on that is something that's still progressing. There's a lot happening behind the scenes. Unfortunately, the public can't necessarily see all that's happening behind the scenes just because there's a lot of data collection, but staff is working hard on delivering that project.
Is that 17 million already secured, or is that have to find it?
That is allocated already on behalf of the city. 208 and 246 Republic. It looks entirely different than what you see in there now. There is furniture featured now. We're actually moved in. Ms. Ellen actually happened to swing by earlier today for an impromptu meeting that we scheduled. And it's looking great. There's still some minor punch list items that they're wrapping up, but similar to the playground, we'll be inviting you all for a ribbon cutting ceremony here, hopefully soon, once we finish out those punch list items. 1500 Daisy Lane. So earlier this week, we did have a city council presentation that did provide us with some direction. It was new direction that was given. Originally, there were 6 multipurpose rooms that were identified to be this max flex capacity. There was direction on behalf of council to reconfigure that a little bit. So we are working with CAS and with the designer firm right now through those options, and we'll be providing updates with you all on what that updated floor plan is going to be this next month.
Real quick, I met with Dr. Harris on another topic, but we talked a little bit, and I don't think we got the same picture. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same picture about what the changes were. That's all. Thank you.
Yep. Lake Howell Fitness Court. So Lake Howell Fitness Court is something that did start. There was an impromptu call that was originally scheduled for a specific time frame. They called us and said, hey, we had a rain out at another city. Can we go in there and start the construction for the court? So it's what you see there on screen. However, there were some unexpected issues with the materials. The materials have been sitting in storage for roughly, I believe, 3 to 5 years. I'm not exactly sure on the timeline, but it is one of those projects that we had to resurrect and continue to push and deliver this project. So the tiles that you see there weren't laying flat. And so we were having issues with that tile. So fortunately, the firm went ahead and they just went ahead and shipped new ones. So now we're just waiting on the installer to come back on site to finish the project. We do envision that being done by mid-June.
So is that an issue then? Because I'm pretty sure they weren't stored in a temp controlled warehouse. So the heat makes them warp, and they're gonna be in the heat all day long.
No, so they're designed intentionally for that, but because they were palletized and because they were embedded in plastic wrapping, it was squeezing them in. So that's why it was giving it that configuration. They are designed or engineered appropriately to withstand heat. Waterleaf Park restroom. So the installation is expected this summer. We did hear from the manufacturer actually that through the state, they finally approved the construction plans. There was some stuff happening behind the scenes from a permitting standpoint with the state office. So they did finally resolve those. So we do have the green light to continue with this, and we do envision still being on schedule for delivery and installation of this summer. So we're currently finalizing those building permits locally now that we've passed the state process. Skate park, we did provide you guys with an update earlier today, or actually a couple items ago. One thing that I want to add is that we will be bringing back an item with that 3D render at this next June meeting. And so that's going to be a 3D render. That's going to be that final design that will then initiate the final construction plans, or the technical documents as the engineer calls it, in order for us to start getting into the permitting stage and ultimately breaking ground later this fall. And that's all I had regarding CIP. Welcome any questions.
Did it cost us any extra money for the installing of the playscape at Lake Kyle? Like the
No.
fact that we had a pause?
No, I'm happy to report that they just went ahead and shipped that over to us free of cost.
And we're installing it, the city of Kyle's installing it?
We, the installer, so nothing increased on behalf of the instance that occurred.
Okay.
So we're still paying the same fee.
Gotcha.
There is a fee, but we're not paying more because of that.
Okay, cool.
Have you ever walked the Plum Creek Trail from Waterleaf?
I have.
You didn't get lost?
I haven't, but that's because I was also being guided by staff. However, I can tell you that one thing that we did not add to this, and that's because it just got executed, it will be identified this next meeting, is that we did just execute a contract with a design firm for wayfinding signage. So that's going to be improving the wayfinding signage across the trail network and dedicated entry monument signage into our parks as well.
Yeah, because I walked it last Thursday. I got lost, and then I ran out of the woods because a rabbit started jumping. I didn't know what it did. So yeah, I found my way out really quick behind someone's house.
It's part of the adventure. I have a question about that trail too. So, we were walking our dogs back there, and there's houses. I'm sure you guys have seen the houses that are by Waterleaf, and the fences are not great. So that seems like that may be problematic because, and granted, you can't make people fix their fences. However, we had to leave because there were dogs on like those houses there where it did not feel very safe. So like if there's more foot traffic back there, there's likely going to be more issues with those fences being in disrepair, especially if they have dogs or whatever.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point. From my experience, as you start developing some of these spaces, some of these active trails, then individuals sort of repair some of those on their own because they want to have that privacy. And sometimes just with the raw land, as you see it, it's an extension of their backyard. That's how some individuals may perceive that. However, that's something that staff could further look into, work with our code enforcement if that's something related to that. We do envision updating our mowing regimes in the sense of having some of those buffers created just from a safety standpoint. And there are also conservation zones that we're incorporating. All that to be said, though, we'll explore that further.
And to add to that, we also have a really close relationship with the Waterleaf HOA, and so, you know, something we could bring to their attention as well.
Well, I think these people have the beauty of no one can see the back of their fence, so no one's narking on them because it's not the front of their house, right? So HOA probably doesn't even know that their fences are
Well, is it
not in good shape.
even a rule for the HOA to even have a fence? I know there's a rule that, hey, your fence has to be repaired if it looks like boo-boo, but they can also choose, okay, well, we don't want a fence at all.
Yeah, that could be something that we could talk with the Waterleaf HOA group and see if it's in their rules and regulations, and we could look into that.
And even code requirements too, so, you know, sometimes there's requirements for type of fencing and standards by that regard.
Any other questions?
Are all the boars gone? Did you see
Uh,
any issues with them?
Yeah, there was no hog update this time, right?
There will always be boars. This is a constant, like, it's just management. And so they're going to migrate along those water corridors. They're always going to be close to the water corridors and eat it. But as of now, there's no boars within parks that we're aware of. So the abatement's been, pardon the pun, but wildly successful, thanks to our conservation manager, John Davis. I mean, he started with us in the nick of time, and that wasn't technically part of his job description, but it made sense to the entire city that migrate over to him, being he's a wildlife biologist, and yeah, he's batting 1,000.
Yeah, I would say we are still making those observations and reporting. So if we do get further reports, it will be something that we'll deploy, set efforts, whether it's traps or you name it, for us to be able to keep that 100,000% batting percentage that David alluded to. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 5, receive a report, hold a discussion, and provide staff feedback for the Public Arts Master Plan. Chris Escoto. Back up.
You're going to love me tonight. All right. So I alluded to Chris Escoto, Parks Deputy Director. We did engage with the Public Art Master Plan earlier this month, I should say. So today I'm just going to give you just a brief background, feedback, and master plan scope of what's going to be incorporated and featured in that. So I would say that the City of Kyle currently does not have an adopted arts master plan. What is a master plan? Well, a master plan provides you with vision, direction, objectives, strategies, procedures for the arts. One of the key components that was highlighted in our PROS master plan, the department-wide master plan, was the need or the highlight to emphasize the public art within the city itself. So as you see on screen, the imagery on the right, you're able to see the most desired amenities. Well, number 5 there is interactive public art. There is some need and some highlight in order for us to incorporate that. So that is an action item that is emphasized in our PROS master plan, which triggered the need for us to move forward with an arts master plan to better guide staff regarding the procurement of art, or just really the objectives and the strategies, the goals that the city's looking to be. The feedback and support that was provided, we had a numerous conversation with the Arts and Cultural Board, ultimately receiving support of us going in that direction, which we then took that to City Council on April 15th. They supported that, and we brought back that contract on May 6th, which is with Todd W. Brezzi, who is a well-known consultant nationwide. He's conducted several art master plans within the area, one being here in Austin over at Lady Bird Lake, and as well as North Texas. There's several plans in North Texas that he's been a part of. So it's one of those that he is a well-known consultant. So we definitely have one of the best, I should say, conducting this. What is the scope of the master plan? Well, again, the master plan is going to define a clear and inspiring vision for public art. It's going to help identify key locations, opportunities for those new installations, identify what those processes are. We currently do not have a process, so to say, for selecting and commissioning artists. So it's one of those that's staff is currently working on developing. Luckily, we do have some staff that do have experience with procuring public art, so that's what's helping guide some of those components currently. Establish those practical guidelines for art maintenance and tracking. All the art that we're trying to do, we're trying to make sure that we're keeping sustainability in mind. So those are all those various practices from not only from an environmental standpoint, but also from a lighting standpoint, from a planting standpoint, and from a maintenance and just logistical standpoint when it comes to maintaining or replacing such art sculptures or pieces. So all that to be said, this plan will help build a vibrant, inclusive, and well-maintained public art program that will truly reflect the community's values and identity. And with that, I'll turn it over to you for any questions. We are. So, and I'm sorry, I went through this pretty quickly, but part of it does incorporate public engagement. There will be a public survey that will be released here in the next few weeks, actually, for us to start engaging with the community. We're going to have focus groups with various stakeholders, such as CAS, as an example. But it's one of those components that we are looking to bring in the community to see what the vision of the art will be for the city of Cal.
Well, first thing that popped in my head is like the inclusive piece. Art in general is objective, right? So how do you really keep it inclusive by the nature of it being art?
Yeah, I mean,
You know
and
what I'm saying? Like, if we want a real identity, how do we pick the identity?
yeah,
keep everybody
and that's a great question. Art is very subjective. So one of those components that we're looking to do is there's various mediums of art, right? Art is just not physical or sculpture. You're talking about fabric. You're talking about digital. You're talking about visual art, performance arts. There's all those various things into the arts themselves that this plan will help define all those types. It probably won't tell you, hey, this is the direction that you should be going to, because we still want to be diverse in the type of art that we're looking to incorporate. But it will give you some type of parameters on how you're going to navigate such processes where that vagueness can come to play, where it's a little bit more black and white on how you proceed with it.
I'm just thinking about the guardrails. Like, do we have? I'm sure we'll have some, but feedback from the community would be good on that.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Great.
I lie. I have a question. Public art master plan is gonna include the roundabouts that will have art, or are those like?
So that is a separate process that's already in queue. So this, not to say that we're not going to use this to the advantage of establishing what those parameters are, but for example, so there's, I believe, 3 or 4 roundabouts that are going to be released currently to bid. One of those, it does incorporate an art component. As you know, it does take a while to build some of these roadways and so forth. So the art piece is going to be one of those last components that will come into play. So hopefully we may be able to time it a little bit within it. However, we do need to start identifying the scope and procuring that set piece. Again, we do have staff that has experience procuring art, so that's one of those avenues that we'll make sure that we're following this tightrope, so to say, in order for us to make sure that we're not missing anything.
I would say avoid the Button Creek traffic circle. People, if you're gonna put, I would put art there. Like, we are gonna do traffic circles, are we going to like pay attention to people not using them correctly? Like the Button Creek, you can see people driving up on it or around it or on it, or like, if there's art, it may deter some of that, but also then you could be having issues with your art being damaged if they're in there.
Yeah, and there's set design guidelines in order to avoid some of that damage to occur, right? So whether you have the slowing, depending on the landscape, there's some type that you can incorporate, like bigger, like bull rock as an example. Not to say that's what we're using, but there's bigger rock that can slow down traffic, or incorporating some type of concrete border, kind of like a parking stop you see as in parking lots. So from that standpoint, I don't want to say that it's going to be all in the roundabouts. That's just one component. We're going to be very specific on how we're going to place make a lot of this art, a lot of it being within gateways, entryways to the Vibe Trail, maybe locations within the parks themselves. Some can argue too that the landscape itself can be an art component, but there's also the interactive features as well, such as chalk art or maybe type of events that you can highlight within the park. So there's trying to think outside the box rather than it just being something physical. It's going to help drive all those various ideas.
Yeah, and then we have a fantastic transportation director who's already putting those, here's another pun, but those guardrails in place for design. So he's already given like great input on like, hey, when we're thinking about signage, when we're thinking about art and landscape, I mean, he's not a landscape architect, he's not an artist, but he's a great transportation guy, and he's like, you know, this is a distracting thing, and we need to consider this, you know, and all the traffic calming that comes with it. So, you know, I think we're in good hands along with him and the GEC.
He talked about it on Transportation Day at Team Kyle. He's thinking about it. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll move on to agenda item 6. Receive a report, hold a discussion, and provide staff recommendations regarding the nomination of Grand Marshal for the 2025 parade.
All right, I am back. Assistant Director Amy Garcia. I will have the pleasure of introducing Claudia Rocha, our Division Manager for Special Events. She will be giving the presentation today on the Grand Marshal selection.
Good evening. Y'all need to stretch? A 7th-inning stretch. Okay, so yes, I'm presenting on our Grand Marshal selection for both parades tonight. Okay, so we'll start with the parade overview. We'll do the Grand Marshal criteria, some past nominees, 2025 nominee overview, and then nominees for both Founders Day Parade and Veterans Day, and then ask for your recommendation for both. Okay, so parades. We have our Founders Day Parade, which is October 13th of 2025 this year. Starts at Greg Clark Park and ends at Mary Kyle Hartson. It starts at 11 o'clock and ends at noon. And then our Veterans Day Parade, which is November 8th, starting at Greg Clark Park, ending at Mary Kyle Hartson. And it starts at 11:45 and ends at 12:45. Both of them being able to attend the market days afterwards at Mary Kyle Hartson. All right, our qualifying criteria, the Grand Marshal is a person honored to begin each and lead each of the parades. They need to demonstrate contributions to the quality of life in our city throughout civic, social services, humanitarianism, personal achievements, based on distinctions that are brought to the city resulting from achievements elsewhere. It can be a current or long-term past or present resident. Oh, sorry, my bad, sorry. And they must be willing to act as the Grand Marshal and be willing to be able to attend both either the Founders Day or the Veterans Day Parade. This year we solicited nominations from our AMVETS organization, our CAS organization, Hats Off to Veterans, Kiwanis, the Chamber of Commerce here in town, and our Historic Commission is who we solicited from. Our past nominees and actually our past Grand Marshals have been in 2022, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem Robert Rizzo stood in for the mayor. 2023, Dr. Eric Wright, school board or superintendent of schools. And then in 2024, Cynthia Bentley. And for Veterans Day, we had Mr. Raimundo Garcia, Jimmy Quintero, and Carl Trim. And so this year's nominees are Miss Lila Knight and Don Conley for our Founders Day Parade. And then for our Veterans Day Parade, we have Mr. Raymond Ray Naheda and Joe Edward Boswick and Robert Price. All right, Miss Lila Knight has 30 years to preserving our Hays County history. She's worked as a volunteer in that capacity, working with the Kyle Depot Heritage Center and our Catherine Ann Porter Historic Home, and for the National Registry list, to get that on the registry list. She's also been known for her tenacity in Kyle politics and her historic advocacy. She is marked through this unpaid service, research, and fierce community love. Then we have Ms. Dawn Conley, and she has worked or volunteered for 10 years with our CAS program, and she's united seniors with our community through social media, arts, education, health initiatives, and partnerships with nonprofits. She has also assisted in organizing school supply drives, toy drives, clothing drives. She supports domestic abuse survivors and aids veterans and mentors at-risk youth. And her faith-driven dedication as a spiritual director and a community leader continues to uplift and countless lives. So those are the two nominees for the Founders Day. I will go into Veterans Day Parade. Mr. Ray Naheda, who is a Gold Star family member and was served in the Air Force. He also was a graduate of the Air Force Academy, and he worked in strategic systems, overseeing B-1 bomber planning missions, and received his master's from the University of Southern California. He retired in 1994 with several merit awards from the service, And he has then assisted our Hispanic business groups and also our veterans organizations and the U.S. Census. He has remained active with veterans and the senior community here in Kyle. Mr. Joe Edward Boswick has served in 27 years in the Navy. He was, final office was Master Chief Petty Officer. He also worked 27 years with the IRS, and he had a dedicated career in teaching at Austin Community College. He also was a Justice of the Peace, school board member, and a Masonic leader. He has been dedicated to our country, education, and civil leadership, left an enduring legacy of integrity that continues to inspire all. And then Mr. Robert Price, who has served in the U.S. Army. He also worked in the 24th Infantry Division in Korea. He has received the multiple awards, including the Korean Defense Medal, the Armed Forces Medal, and an Expert Rifleman Badge. He has worked in public safety as an industrial firefighter. He's also been in EMT for 4 years, and now he's got a steadfast dedication to duty, leadership, and service in both military and civilian life. And so now, option one, you can give me a recommendation for the Grand Marshals for Founders Day and Veterans Day, or deny it and give me feedback.
Nominate Lila Knight for Founder's Day and Ray Nahara for Veterans Day.
Okay?
Ray spoke at the Memorial Day.
Yes, ma'am, he did. He was the last speaker.
So he's participated in other events, right? So has Mr. Boswick been in any military associated or veterans events, or would that be his first time?
As far as in my 3 years, he has not
Okay.
participated.
I would almost say consider Mr. Boswick, since Ramon had an opportunity recently to speak at that event. It might be good to give another face to the city of Kyle.
I'm good with it. I'm just an Air Force family.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, so there was the motion was originally Ms. Lila Knight and then Mr. Raymond, or Ray. And so would you guys like to change the motion?
There wasn't a second on it, though.
No, no second, no. Any second on the first motion?
I'll second that.
The first motion?
The first one, yeah.
Lila Knight,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, we should do them separately, right? That makes
Yeah,
it
if you could,
easier.
yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
easier, okay.
I make a motion to nominate Lila Knight for Founder's Day Parade Chairman. Grand
I'll
Marshal.
second that.
Okay, and so we had a motion and a second for Lila Knight. All right, so we'll go again for Veterans Day Grand Marshal. Oh, I'm sorry, a vote, I apologize.
Do we get a second?
Yes, the
Oh, okay.
second, one, if you'd like to vote.
Oh, all in favor?
Can you raise your hand higher? Okay, great.
Oh.
Oh, okay, thank you.
All right, now we'll go to the second round.
Second
Veterans
round.
Day Grand Marshal.
I make a motion for Mr. Boswick.
I'll second.
If you'd like to take a
To
vote.
take a vote?
All in favor?
All right,
All
any
right.
questions?
That's easy.
No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go on to agenda item 7. Consider approval of a recommendation for city council for a preferred playground concept at Waterleaf Park.
Chris Escoda again, Deputy Director of Parks and Recreation. So today I'm going to talk to you about the Waterleaf Playground. So this was an item that was going to be presented earlier this past month, but due to it being canceled, there was a message or a memo that was sent out to Park Board to let you guys know on the strategy and efforts that we'll be conducting in order to get the feedback for this Waterleaf Playground. So today, going to walk you through the history timeline, just a little bit of information regarding Playground that you've been pretty familiar with based on the steeplechase presentation that we gave, give you the current condition, the options, and overall timeline on where we're going regarding the Waterleaf Playground. So similarly to the steeplechase playground, staff assesses playground and determine that it passes basically shelf life. So it is a outdated park that exceeds roughly about 15, I think it's about 20 years old. So that was an assessment that staff made that determined the need for it. We, again, reached out to a consultant or contractor that provides these concept renders, where ultimately we put 2 designs out this time to the community. We did have a community that selected the favorite option, where that survey was open from May 5th to May 20th, and I'll give you a little bit of highlights on the number of responses and some of the percentages that we received regarding some of the demographics. But ultimately what we're looking for today is seeking direction from Park Board that they agree with the selection on behalf of the community for us to be able to take this contract to council at mid-June. So a little bit about playground information and compliance. As you all know, playgrounds encourage physical, social, and cognitive growth. Playgrounds are a safe space, so to say. So not only just from a play standpoint, but from a risk level, that you have proper cushion or proper surfacing, I should say, in order for from a safety standpoint to be able to fall. So there's various parameters that are incorporated from height limits to guardrails to just legal mumbo jumbo that I probably don't want to bore you to death on when it comes to playground safety, playground development, but ultimately there are various certifications and standards that must be followed. We do want to make sure that everything is ADA compliant, and typically the life cycle of a playground is 10 to 15 years. So as I mentioned earlier, the Waterleaf Playground is 20 years old that currently exists out at the park. So some of those surfacing materials that I spoke about is you got the most common one is the EWF, which stands for engineered wood fiber. The pour in place, the synthetic turf playground grass. Ultimately, we were debating from the pour in place or the turf playground standpoint, but there are a lot more benefits that staff has noticed from the synthetic turf, not only from a maintenance standpoint, from a warranty standpoint, from anti-static standpoint, all those various components that kind of come into play, especially when it's under shade. It seems to be it's more of a durable, better bang for your buck. So that's the direction that we went for this design, is to implement the synthetic turf playground grass. The current condition of the park, as I told you, it's 20 plus years old. We went back, looked at Google Earth, and we saw this still sitting there in 2005 in its early development. So that's really where the imagery stops. So I'm not sure if there was a gap that it existed more than that. So that's where that 20 plus comes to mind. So observation, again, poor playground aesthetics. There's not enough play value. You'll see in the next slides that we did have to take out a slide out of commission just because it wasn't safe to keep it. So right now it is boarded up, and rather than having to replace that one slide, it was something that we just took it out of commission. We're going to come back and try to move as fast as we can to replace this playground, and again, save those dollars and put it into a new one, knowing that this sculpture or this structure itself was not adequate. And when I say adequate, I mean we're still inspecting it, and we're still making sure that the inspections are there for it to be used. But as you can see on screen, I mean, there's a lot of wear and tear that exists. From an ADA access point, you can't really get in there from a wheelchair standpoint. So one of those components that we're looking to improve our park spaces. From a concept standpoint, as I mentioned, there was 2 concepts or options. They all featured inclusive amenities, had the synthetic grass option. We are incorporating the existing shade, but also adding new shade. There is a zip line, so we heard feedback from the community and from Park Board and Council that we want to highlight zip lines. So we did highlight a zip line to this. And ultimately, the accessibility and mobility around the perimeter. We want to make sure that anybody can enjoy the park and walk around, and from a standpoint of parents or caregivers, we want to make sure that there's comfort from an observation or just hanging out at the park themselves or the playground themselves. So there's two concepts, traditional and nature. Overall, the survey results, we did have 305 responses. 23% of those respondents required special assistance in regards to sensory, physical, cognitive, auditory. Just to give you a little bit of highlights on the community, I believe the percentage for steeplechase was roughly around low 30s. So there is still that percentage is still up there, so to say, from a individuals that are needing some type of assistance. Option 2 did receive 58% of the votes, as well, I don't think I've told you that, but it received option number 2 at 58%, where that was the nature concept. Overall was very well received. There was opportunity to add comments, and every comments I saw was nature playground. We love this concept. It fits perfectly with Waterleaf Park, just from the nature aspect and the elements. So ultimately, that's what was selected on behalf of the community. The proposed concept, as I alluded to at the beginning, does enhance, incorporate new shade, as well as keep the new one, but we are going to be replacing the fabric. So it's going to be new fabric. We're going to repaint the pools themselves and match both areas. With the new nature-themed playground, there'll be custom components that we can do regarding Waterleaf. We can be very specific that says, hey, we want to incorporate the flora and fauna of what we have there at Waterleaf. So that's something that we're currently looking to do to make sure that it's truly unique to the area, to Kyle, and more importantly to Waterleaf Park and that region that playground's going to serve. So as right now, what's going to be moving forward is option number 2 to City Council. Currently, the budget is at $614,335. That is all in. That incorporates some improvements. So that's going to give you shade, benches, improved surfacing, replacement, hauling, all those various components that come to a turnkey playground installation. Here's a little bit more photos of what that sculpture, or what I keep saying sculpture because I'm still in the art, but what the structure looks like. One thing to mention, there is going to be a communication board. As you see, as a reminder what a communication board is, for those that have some type of speech impairment, you can go and start selecting, say, hey, I want to play with you, and you're able to say that through that communication board with somebody that may not have that ability or disability. So that's one of those new things that we're looking to incorporate in our park system from an inclusivity standpoint. Another photo. Here's the zip line that you see there to the right. And ultimately, we are looking to break ground in this later this year, pending the contract agreement, of course, on behalf of council, or first park board, then council. But we are looking to take this to city council mid-June, pending your approval today. And then that equipment lead time is going to be roughly about 6 to 8 weeks, and construction coming August, September. And as I alluded to with Steeplechase Park, it could be anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks for installation. So we'll have hopefully 2 brand new playgrounds here at the end of this year. And so with that, we were seeking your direction. Staff does recommend moving forward the community selection and taking that forward to city council. And I stand for questions.
I'm in favor of moving forward with option 1, or this design that the community chose. It's super cute. It looks really nice.
Second that motion?
Yeah. Did we get an official motion?
Oh, yes. What are the official words? I make a motion to move forward with option 1.
Second that motion?
The vote.
Take a vote. All in favor? Option 1.
That's everybody?
Is that enough?
Yep, 5-0.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to 7. Consider possible action for recommendation to City Council to potentially name the facility located at 1500 Daisy Lane the Adele Hurst Activity Center.
Good evening, Madam Vice Chair and board members. David Lopez, Director of Parks and Recreation. All right, so we received a naming application for the facility located at 1500 Daisy Lane that will primarily serve for senior programming and events. So we're going to talk about that. Just a quick summary of the application, a little background on Adele Hurst and potential next steps, and get some direction and feedback from you all. So a naming application was received by the Parks and Recreation Department to the city manager by our CAS president, Betty Conley, on 5/13/2025. The request was to name this city-owned senior programming center and events facility the Adele Hurst Activity Center. The application also included 53 signatures of support. A little bit of background on Ms. Adele Hurst. She was a community activist in Kyle who advocated for seniors strongly. She believed that seniors should have their own gathering space and programming space for their needs. I have records of countless emails she exchanged with former Parks and Recreation Director, strongly advocating and pushing for serving this population in our city. And she helped to establish the Kyle Area Senior Zone in 2006. She passed away in 2018. Okay, so we're bringing this item to you all for some feedback, some formal feedback, and if this is supported by this body, we would take it to City Council for just this would be their first time hearing of the application. So rather than bringing it on for a first reading, we're going to give it as a report and discussion item for consideration. If there's some support to bring it forward, then we're going to do 2 readings on the item. If the naming's approved, then we do have an ongoing, as you all know, architectural design contract for the center, and that would be incorporated into the design of the facility for the naming on the facade and elevations. So option 1 would be to recommend approval of this application as presented. Option 2 is recommend the approval with some edits or changes, and option 3 would be to not recommend approval. Take any questions or action at this time.
I have comments.
The mayor is the one that suggested that we name it the Adele Hurst Activity Center because we were talking about her in, respect to this building over here and wanting recognition of her there in the ballroom because years ago, council voted to name the ballroom after her. And so the mayor said, well, why don't you just name the new building after her? The part that bothers me is that's a long name. And so I think it's going to turn into an acronym that's going to be the AHAC. And then somebody said, well, why don't you call it the Hearst Center? And to me, the word Hearst and the word hearse are too close. It's going to be a joke about, all those old people at the Hearst Center. And I think that we should call it the zone, like the newsletter. It leaves an open feeling. Also, when they put that thing down there for those 53 signatures, it was right by the lunch sign up, and it wasn't exactly clear what you were signing, so I'm not sure that that's and it was not intentional, nobody, but then this is how we got to this point. So I'm just putting that out there.
I kind of feel the same way. If we're going to name the building after one person, we really need to be thinking about who's had history here in Kyle, right? We need to consider all of the others who have actively been a part of CAS.
And normally, if you're naming something, the city's supposed to get like $1 million or something for the naming rights. You don't just start giving those names away.
Yeah, that could be if it's commercial versus community driven.
perhaps.
some input.
My proposal is that we talk to her son, say, what room here would, or what area would most honor your mother? And can we name, a section, or, like maybe have a big plaque with her history, her picture in the opening area? I don't know. I just worry about that acronym thing, or calling it the Hearst Center.
I would agree with her. I'm working for the federal government. We have acronyms that, where we name things, and then once it's an acronym, it's like we've made a huge mistake. And I do think it's being mindful of that too, because they're not gonna say her whole name when they're talking about the center.
And I don't want to take anything away from her. She saved that historic building, the old Opera House, from destruction in the early 2000s, and that's how our nonprofit came to form. We were the Don't Tear Down That Historic Building, because we need a community center, senior center, and it served all these years in that way.
Any other discussion?
Why don't you talk to her son first and see how he feels about everything? I think that's the route I would go, instead of saying, hey, yeah, we're not gonna name this after your mom anymore. We're just gonna give you a room. Because he may have mixed feelings about how and what his mom did in the community. I mean, and he could be like, yeah, that's great, just give her a room. That's completely fine. Yeah. but-
Trying to decide what is the best way to honor her.
Yeah.
And first talking to her son, and then maybe also talking to everybody in CAS and seeing, how they feel about it. Instead of just a sign-up sheet, maybe just take a moment to join at one of their events before they start whatever program it is on the calendar.
Also, I did point out that, to the president, that I don't think people knew what they were signing, and we may run into these issues. And so then, at the last meeting, she already turned in all that 53 signatures. Or she said, or we could call it the zone. So I feel like maybe we're not quite ready to make that decision, and maybe option 3, do not recommend approval. Let's talk more about that. It's early on. I mean, we don't even have the floor plan nailed down. Let's push that can down the road.
So just so you all know, if you choose option 3, and thank you for staying to the item at hand, if you do choose, we will also, we're still going to, just as a report and discussion item, take this to council because we did receive an application, but we're going to take your recommendation this evening, and we'll also include some of the things you discussed in the matter, so it's not just
One more thing, we are having the vibe, the zone. They're both 4-letter words. I don't know, it just seems like it goes well together.
Okay, so am I hearing option 3? Is there,
Make a motion to move forward with option 3.
Great, thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't feel really comfortable making a motion, or, I'm too close to it, so. But we'll take a vote now.
Thank you for your feedback. That's really good to consider all of those different aspects.
Maybe tell them to explain the sign-up sheet better,
That's why I like a
Go back and
conversation or maybe some coffee.
redo it and then explain what they're saying. I mean, my grandma gets a text from the fake
I know.
toll road she has to call me for, so
Oh,
she
yeah.
doesn't understand.
Vote for number 3.
We didn't vote.
I believe that's the last agenda item, and someone should call for an adjournment.
So we get out of here. I adjourn?
We need a second.
I second the motion.
All in favor of adjournment? The time is 8:04.